Hi. So I wanted to talk real quick about the 3D printed enclosure for the ADSBee 1090, mostly because I had to make some interesting trade-offs and I wanted to chat about it before it all sublimates and I forget what I've done. So I'm going to switch this camera over to the desk and get this crazy bright light on my face. Let's see. Oh, you can see that. That's great. Okay, so this is kind of what our enclosure looks like, but I wanted to talk about what I did to get there. So really to start off with, there's a couple of things on the ADSBee 1090 that need to be taken into account with the enclosure. So there's obviously a Wi-Fi antenna that connects to the ESP32 here. There's an SMA connector that connects into the other side of the PCB on the RF input connector, which is visible here. There's also two buttons on the front and for programming, and there's some LEDs. So the easiest way to do that is to put it all into a case. I stuck the Wi-Fi antenna in a slight recess, so it's easy to install. And then I added some mounting bosses onto the back side of the PCB, just like that. And that's where the screws go to hold the PCB captive. On the other side, there's also some buttons that are integrated flexures in the case. So you can press them and the little arms move up and down. And that lets you click the buttons for reset and for boot for programming the ESP32. One note about the Wi-Fi antenna is that I stuck it on this surface because I figured this text side is probably going to be facing up most of the time. The Wi-Fi antenna is pretty sensitive to the dielectric constant of whatever it's attached to, just because higher dielectric constant, the wavelengths are smaller, so the sizes of all the elements have to change. If I put the antenna on the back side of the enclosure, where someone could stick it against a table, then the antenna tuning would be different if the enclosure was on the table versus in their hand or sitting this way. So I didn't want to really have to consider that, and so I stuck it on the top surface. It's not perfect, obviously, because there is some stuff in the near field of this antenna. The PCB is conductive, and this SMA connector is conductive as well. But just trying to limit some of the variations and stuff that gets near that antenna in the course of using this device, I think it'll make it easier to get that antenna fine-tuned when we eventually get it set up for this particular enclosure. Other things, so there's obviously four PCBs holding the PCB down to the. There's four screws holding the PCB down onto the 3D printed case. But I didn't want to use any additional screws for holding the back cover on, just to make it really easy to install and reduce the cost. Originally, I had some designs kind of shaped like this, but printed differently, where there was retention clips printed going upwards like this, and that caused a lot of really frequent fracture sites along these retention clips, since 3D prints with FDM are quite fragile along their layer adhesion lines. And so the solution I came up with was a two-part piece like this. So there's these retention clips that print horizontal like that. The back cover prints horizontal just like this. And then you can see there's some really small bumps just behind the retention clips on the bottom, kind of where my thumb is there. And that allows you to take these retention clips and just snap them on to the backing here. And then once those are attached securely, then you can take this backing and you can line it up. There's a little cutout for the SMA connector. You can line it up with the case and you can install it. And it clips in just like that with some catches at the top. These holes are large enough that if you want to, you can use a USB-C connector, which is the standard connector used on the ADSBee 1090. And you can use this to pop those clips out. Oops, hold on. It was easier when I did it off camera. Come on. There we go. So if we get one side out and flip it around, you can do that. And there you go. Well, clip's not supposed to come off like that. There's also, because we have the back cover as a separate piece, that allows you to add different shapes. So the 3D print files are all totally public. People can do whatever they like with it. But this back cover in particular is meant for a window mount kit that comes with these four suction cups. And you can also use it with any other kind of M5 fastener. But this attaches just the same way. These clips are separate from the actual bracket, so I can take those off, snap those back on, and then I can go ahead and slide this guy in. And that's what a window feeder looks like for the ADSBee 1090. So thanks for watching. I think some of you guys will be getting these soon, and I'm excited to see what you guys do with them.